Welcome back to the channel. This is Monkey Business. I'm Nick, aka Dad, and usually Monkey's here with me, but again today she's got school and we had a package show up that I've been kind of waiting for. It was about almost a year ago that I did some test fitments for this company. This is from CV Fab. They had me doing a test fitment on a new intercooler they were designing for the Bronco. And I told them I'd love to be a part of it. So they sent me a pre-production and started doing some test fitments for them. And then at the end, I sent it back to them. And they'd said, hey, if you are interested in one when we come out with a production model, we'd love to send you one. And they did come out with one, contacted them, and had it shipped to me. So I've got a brand new CV Fab intercooler that we're going to unbox today, and we'll show you a little bit about it, go over some of the specifications, and then later we'll install it on the Bronco. So, as Monk would say, let's get started. All right, let's take a look here. Get this side here. All right, let's see here. Good sturdy box, first off. All right, we've got, not sure here, yep, got some styrofoam here. On the top, we've got some washers, some bolts, nuts. Better make sure we keep a hold of these here. Another piece of tape here. All right, so we've got plenty of foam here. Got some more. Oh, and then we've got the best part here. There is our intercooler, which we'll get some measurements off of. Let me put it off to the side here. It looks like we might have either another box in here. Not sure what's in that. Let's take a look here, get this styrofoam out of the way. Sounds like our dogs found somebody walking by the house here. And what do we have in this box? Now with a lot of these intercoolers, I've noticed there is where you have to get rid of your active grill shutters, which doesn't set off any kind of warning lights inside the Bronco. But it does actually send a signal back to service and Ford of a dealership that looks up your Ford Pass account. You can actually, with that modem that's in these, it actually tells them that your active grill shutters are inoperable. You may be able to find it on your Ford Pass app that you've got a warning on it. So it's always tracking it, even though it doesn't show you anything in there. And I think what I'm going to try to do is come up with a solution for us with these aftermarket intercoolers. So far, Mishimoto has been the one company I've looked at with these that has their intercooler that they say you can leave your active grill shutter system on, but it does rub a little bit. So you know what? Stick with us on this journey. We'll see if we can come up with an option to be able to fix that and be able to keep your active grill shutters on. And, I don't know if it's a performance gain or loss, really, to keep your active grill shutters on, but it does send signal, and it's really almost impossible to get rid of the active grill shutters because that motor is connected to the wiring harness, and I'm pretty sure if you unplug it, you will probably get some warning lights in. But let's see what's in this box. All right, we've got some more bubble wrap. Okay, so we've got some zip ties. Move this off to the side here. And this, I believe, is what they had sent me as well. This is for the active grill shutter system. Since you have to remove it, they send you a bracket. Move this out of the way. That would then replace for your, I'm assuming your front radar system, which we don't have that. But yeah, this bracketry would be up front where that plastic's at right now. Actually, we have it here. We've got it kind of taken apart now. But yeah, you can kind of see here's what CV Fab sends you. I'll kind of get the other one out of the way here. And then this is your active grill shutters here. So a little bit shorter, but yeah, your active grill shutter. So I'm assuming that's probably what that is here. We'll move this back off to the side for now. So yeah, it gives you a place to bolt all that into. Looks like they've actually, yeah, I mean, done some, I didn't see the threads when I had gotten mine when I did the test fitment, so they've refined this quite a bit. I also had some issues with the tabs at the end not fitting in, so we'll see how well that goes. But let's get some measurements on this intercooler so you know exactly what kind of performance gain, or how much it's going to be bigger. I shouldn't say performance gain. How much bigger it is in the OEM, width, depth, even height, and see how it compares. All right, so here is the intercooler. We told you we were going to get some measurements off this, but just looking at the construction, good welding around here. I mean, this is really a lot thicker than what you're going to get with the OEM. The issue I had with my test fitment was the inlet tubes. So in an inlet and the outlet tubes, I couldn't get mine to seat on here very well. And that's why they wanted to see it again so they could kind of get some new measurements. And then you have all your standard tabs that you have on your OEM intercooler as well here, top and bottom. I can't remember exactly what this spot was for, but we'll find out when we go to put it on. Again, mine was a high package, so not the Lux, so I don't have adaptive cruise and that on there. But it did fit really well into the OEM spot except for the inlet and outlet tubes. But let's get some measurements here. So our thickness or depth of this is 4 3/4 of an inch, so 4.75 inches. Our height is just over 6 5/8. Pretty much the width, so we'll go from about weld to weld here. It should be about the same as what your factory is because you want it to fit correctly. But that's right about 19.5 inches. So 19.5 this way, 4 3/4 deep. And then, like I said, we're just about 6 5/8 on the height of it. About the same height as what you're going to have on your OEM, but the thickness on this and your depth is so much bigger. But all in all, good construction. It's a pretty heavy piece. And all the welds look really well done, but this should give you some performance gain, being able to get more air into this intercooler, get it cooled down before it goes into the engine itself and the turbos to get you more denser air, because more dense air means more oxygen means bigger power just because of the actual combustion that's happening. So yeah, we'll show you step by step on how to put this in, and then hopefully down the road we'll be able to show you what kind of performance gains you get from the CV Fab intercooler versus OEM. And then maybe down the road again we'll be able to see another intercooler that see if it does any more than CV Fab or versus OEM. But again, as Monk always says, let's get started. All right, well, you can see there's our intercooler, and to access this we're going to have to take off the whole front bumper, and we're going to have to take off, since I don't have the underbody skid plates from Ford, mine's just the plastic piece, we'll need to take that up and get that out of the way. The tow hooks will actually get taken off as well, and then we'll access the bolts for these right through here. These actually pop right off, just a little bit of pulling, and it's basically some tabs back here that hold everything in. They do have some wiring back there, so be careful with that. But yeah, just kind of work your way down, and it'll start popping out where all your sensors are at here. And then, yeah, see, it's just mostly just little push tabs that go through and hold in, and these are the bolts we need to access here on both sides. But we have plans for this bumper anyway, so we'll take it off and get to it here. Hopefully the sound's coming pretty well. It is a windy day here in Illinois, but get this bumper off as quick as possible and get to taking out the old intercooler from Ford, the OEM, and compare it to the new one. Well, you can see I've got both sides taken off, those little panels there. And I went an extra step here. I actually disconnected the front parking sensors basically, because again, we've got some things coming up here with this bumper. So no need to have them connected, but I have taken this bumper off, basically leaving those connected. But it just makes it a little bit easier for me at this point to actually take them off. Now we'll remove those 6 bolts we see there and get this bumper off. Now to take those bolts out, I'm using my electric impact here with a 15mm impact socket. And that's what you'll need basically for the 6 bolts on the bumper, plus if you need to take off the skid plate, in my case the plastic one, it is also a 15mm socket as well. So kind of takes care of everything right there in the front. Let's get them off. All right, we've got all 6 bolts out, and with my bumper, since it's the plastic bumper with the fog lamps, once you take all 6 bolts out, I started with the inside ones first, the 2 inside ones, leaving the outer ones. But once I took out the outer ones, it's not like the bumper just fell off. It's currently just hanging there right now. Do remember that there is a wiring loom though, a main harness type of wiring loom back there. So you don't want to drop it or pull it out, because we've all known that these tabs that they have on these connectors are not great. So yeah, just be careful in taking it off, because there is a wiring loom back there. All right, you can see I've got the bumper here away from the Bronco, and there's that wiring loom I'm talking about. There is a connector up here that you can disconnect then to set the bumper off to the side. So just make sure again that you don't drop it and we get that disconnected. All right, you can see we've got the whole front bumper off. I just took off the plastic little arrow shield, one even called a skid plate, which was 6 bolts. Again, using that 15mm socket. You can actually leave your hooks in place at this point, but I do believe right up here is where your intercooler sits. So we may end up taking these off as well, just to be able to slide that intercooler out. But at this point, we'll keep going, get this intercooler out. So yeah, I took the cover right here off the recovery hook. And yeah, there's 2 bolts in it, and one is right up here. So you'll need to take that cover off. The other one's in the back. I've already removed it. But yeah, your intercooler sits on top of the bracket here that's actually connected to that recovery point. So yep, that'll have to come off to get the intercooler out. Now after you remove those 2 bolts from the recovery point, basically it's not going to fall off right away. I mean, depending on what temperatures you have, if this is kind of shrunk up a little bit because of cold weather, it may fall right off. But right now, I think we're in the upper 60s, low 70s here in Illinois. So the little rubber isolator is holding onto this bracket, and all we're going to do is we're just going to slide that guy down and pop him right off. Let's get to the other side. Already you can see how much shorter this is from top to bottom, or at least in my opinion, it seems like it's not as tall, but I guess we'll put it up on the bench and see what it looks like. Got a couple clamps here underneath we're going to need to remove or disconnect, which are your inlet and outlet tubes, both on either side, and then the whole thing will just come right out. Now to remove the rest of the intercooler, we just got the inlet and outlet tubes here that we'll need to disconnect, and it's basically this little pin here, little clamp. Basically you're just going to pull that down and out on both ends, and that should then unseat it from the hose itself or the clamp itself, and you'll be able to just slide it right out. We'll get this thing off and compare them. All right, kind of angled the camera down here a little bit. Here's our CV Fab. Show you the thickness versus the OEM. So we'd already measured the one from CV Fab, and the OEM intercooler, measuring it out, comes at, looks like just under 3 1/4, where again on the CV Fab we were 4 3/4. So you're gaining 1.5 inches of just depth. And let's take a look at that height here. I'm not sure if I was right or not. We're at 7 1/8, and then on the CV Fab, actually we're a little bit shorter at 6 5/8. Just over 6 5/8. So it's actually a little bit narrower than, or not as tall, but definitely makes up for in thickness, as you can see here. Here's CV Fab. Here's OEM. So yeah, definitely your thickness is a lot more. And let me see here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 rows of fins. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 rows of fins on the CV Fab. So it's got one less row. Look to be about the same thickness, but there's definitely more fins in the CV Fab. They're just spaced a lot closer together, but I think the thickness is definitely going to be a huge advantage to get yourself some cooler air and just denser air. So we'll get the CV Fab put on here. One thing I wanted to talk about real quick is you'd seen when I was showing you when I took off the intercooler that I didn't really go over taking off your active grill shutters. That's because when I did my testing, I didn't really put them back on. I'd shown you kind of at the beginning the active grill shutter system and what they send you. This is really for your radar system. If you have the Lux package, which gives you adaptive cruise. So that's what this bracket's for. Has the mounting tabs on both sides, and then you'd mount your radar system and all that to here. And that's why they give you this bracket, which we really don't need. But I am going to be looking to modify our active grill shutters just to see if I can get the clearance I would need. During the video, I'm going to put these on after we put the CV Fab intercooler on and just see how much more room we really need. See if we can do any trimming here to get it to where the active grill shutters still work, just so it's not throwing any codes as it currently is, just because there's not enough tension against the motor. There's no resistance. So it is flashing a code, but it doesn't show when you start the engine. You don't have like a trouble code that comes up that switches on a check engine light or something. But it is a code that Ford is aware of because it's in the modem and it sends that signal to service departments to let them know on this VIN number, active grill shutter is not working. Technician may look at it and go, oh, well, they're not even there. Well, I'm going to try to figure out if there's a possible way to kind of deconstruct this, make some more room, see if we can fit it in front of an aftermarket intercooler. Let's first put on our intercooler and see what we need to do to modify this. All right, we're back here at the empty spot. I've got our intercooler from CV Fab here. If you're wondering about orientation, what's up, what's down, let me show you here real quick. I'm going to have this kind of upside down here for a second. All right, let's flip this over for everyone so they can see what I'm talking about here. Okay, so you've got this hole here that's got a sleeve in there with threads. And then you've got this hook down here, another hook here, and then one over here, which I don't know how you'd use those. Ford must use them at the factory, and I'm not even quite sure what that's for. But looking at the OEM, this is the orientation. So this little guy here lets me know that this is the top, and obviously it would be the passenger side looking at the OEM. So we'll put it up in that same orientation that the OEM came out. One thing I would suggest if you're doing this by yourself is to put those recovery hooks in here, because they do have the lower bracket for the intercoolers. And I just kind of left mine loose. Hopefully that gives me plenty of room, but that'll help support that when I get it up into the space and get everything connected. One more thing too, don't forget to grab those rubber isolators from the OEM. You'll use those over for the mounting point. So yeah, grab those quick before you put this in, because once you try to put it in, you're gonna go, uh-oh, wait a sec, something's not right here. So get those rubber isolators and put them on your new CV Fab intercooler. All right, and we have the CV Fab intercooler put in. I got mine in black. I know that they do have it just in like aluminum, so just a silver color. And got my isolators. And just to show you, when I had my test one, I could not get these clamps to seat into the ring that they have in here, but they've obviously modified it because now they go really far onto the inlet tube here, or outlet tube, and they fit really well. So I really appreciate them taking my advice on what was going on there, but the piece looks really good as I struggle to get up there. And now let's see if we can figure out how to get that to fit on there with an aftermarket intercooler. Well, I've been messing with the active grill shutter system, and as I had it up here, kind of looking at it here, kind of give you a look at what I've been doing here. You can see how I've got it sitting here, but you can see that the grill's actually, the little shutter system back here is actually hitting against the intercooler. And what I've done so far is that they have a lot of like rubber trim around like the edges here, where I've already cut that off. You've got kind of the rubber piece down here, which really isn't making a big difference, but I probably will cut it off just because actually that lower trim piece here actually gets in the way of like the lower couple rows of your intercooler. But I need to figure out a way to move the mounting spot, right, this piece right here, back a little bit. So they may be getting into some plastic welding here. Keep you updated on that, but we will figure out a way to make these work, just so error codes aren't popping up in Ford's system. Try to figure this out. Like I said, I was talking about those active grill shutters and trying to get those to work. Don't forget too, if you did go with this, you are going to have that wiring for the active grill shutter. So I did a zip tie and then just put them inside this piece of the frame here, which actually goes through to, you know, that front crash bar here. I figure that's a pretty safe place to put them for now, until I get something figured out. I'm not going to let it stop me. We'll get it figured out. Well, we got most of the bumper back on, got the bumper bolted back up with the 6 bolts, got our sensors all reconnected, and then these just popped on. Be careful too, they give you, I mean, there's some extra wiring for some of these end ones. You don't want that kind of interfering. Oh, see, that wasn't all the way in. And getting something kind of out of alignment. Just make sure you kind of push the wire back in. As you can see though, there's the new intercooler, and it kind of hangs down a little bit. We'll get that bottom shield still put on. Well, Monk couldn't make it. She's got schoolwork to do, so I would rather her get that done before coming out here to do the review of this. But CV Fab, you did great. You guys do excellent work. I mean, your craftsmanship on that intercooler was amazing. And I'm sure there's lots of companies that are making really good intercoolers. I'm just looking at this one in particular one. I believe we're going to do another intercooler review down the road, and maybe we'll compare the two. But at this point, I mean, that was how you install a CV Fab intercooler into a Bronco. Ours is a 2021. Not sure if really Ford made any changes between 21 and the current 24s, or 23s are out, but 24s I'm sure are coming. But yeah, it's fairly simple. It's just, what do I do with my wiring for the active grill shutters once I get this intercooler in and this becomes kind of obsolete, at least for now. I'll work on an issue, on a resolve for that. Hopefully I'll come up with something here. But yeah, I appreciate everybody watching. Don't forget, we do have a website now, www.monkeybusinessoffroad.com. We'll hopefully have it down here. And we've got all of our videos up there, kind of how we started, some of the backstory of that, and then even some merchandise on there that we've come up with, and more stuff coming. But as always, we appreciate you watching. Hopefully this has been informative on how to install the CV Fab intercooler goes. And in my opinion, it's a great intercooler, really well made, and the intercooler is really easy to install. I mean, if I wasn't videoing this, I really believe I could install this in about 30 minutes. Because everything comes off pretty quickly. The bumper, the OEM intercooler comes out really quickly, and putting it in, going just backwards basically, I think you could do it in 30 to 45 minutes at the very most if you had some troubles. But yeah, great intercooler. We'll get it out on the road. And next time we talk to you, we're going to be installing a really big item that's going to change the face of our Bronco. So stay tuned. And then always have a blessed day. Bye.